Good afternoon. The process of bringing new employees on board to your business is very important. There are essential documents that absolutely must be filled out thoroughly on time and submitted to the right people in order to ensure that you meet all the legal requirements put on your company. If you don't, you may well find yourself encountering serious problems. Someone who knows about those problems all too well is my guest today. Blythe Shneebwood. Blythe is an attorney with the law firms of I Can't Be, Levi, and Just Got Sued. They're the ones on TV that say, we don't get paid unless you get paid. Well, Blythe, can you tell us why it is so important to fill out all new hire paperwork right away, to fill it out thoroughly and accurately, and to send it in right away? Uh, Blythe, could you comment on why our audience members should take this seriously?
Well, to be honest, I'd rather not. You see, when a manager gets an employee and just throws them out on the floor, they often get injured or upset. Either way, that's good news for me because I don't get paid unless they get paid. That's on my business card. It's pretty snappy, isn't it?
Thank you for that shameless plug, Blythe. But seriously, safety videos are important, aren't they?
Well, of course they are. If you actually care about the welfare of your workers.
If a manager wants to ignore those safety videos that are so easy to access on the web and somebody gets injured, well, so be it.
That means I can ask for more money because I don't get paid unless they get paid.
You're really not going to stop saying that, are you? So how about E-Verify? You don't cash in on that, do you?
Nah, the government takes care of that one. Nice heavy fines, too. That's a pretty sweet gig. Shame I couldn't get in on some of that action. They give employers 3 working days to get employees E-Verified, and still, employers either don't do it or turn them in late.
Well, I can see that you're interested in the money. So, can you at least comment on the handbook acknowledgement form? That couldn't be something you can get rich quick on, right?
Well, not so fast. What if an employee isn't told something, doesn't read it, and then gets fired? They just come into my office and we get to work on their big payday.
Don't you feel bad for taking all those hard-earned profits?
Well, I would if it wasn't so easy to avoid dealing with me. All a manager has to do is put a little effort into getting some paperwork filled out, done right, and turned in on time. I mean, if they can't do that, I'm in the money. Because,
I know. I don't get paid unless they get paid.
I hope you never have to deal with an attorney like Blythe Shneebwood, but the fact of the matter is you just have to turn on the TV to see many like him. So how do we keep ourselves from these types of situations? How do we take care of our business and protect all our hard-earned profits? Well, it's simple. We do our jobs. The obvious next question is, what exactly are my responsibilities? What is my job? Well, when it comes to hiring new people, I can break it down very simply. We complete all new hire paperwork completely, accurately, and on time, and we submit it on time. Now, I know you've likely seen this before, but just to be sure, I want to take a few minutes today to go over exactly what is required to get employees hired safely, fairly, and legally. First, let's start with some good news. You have a wonderful website that gives you everything you need to get this part of your job done. All the forms, including a checklist, are there for you to stay on top of every last essential form and document that you need to submit. When I first heard about this, I thought to myself, why don't the managers just print out all the documents and have them ready to go when a new employee needs to be processed? Well, even though that sounds like a good proactive way to approach things, we do not want to do that. Why? Because when forms get updated and you have old forms printed out, the wrong, outdated forms are going to be used, and then they have to be redone, costing you time and frustration. So to be clear, New hire paperwork should be printed out from the website immediately before processing new hires into the workplace. You know, as a busy manager, that printing of the forms is going to use one of your computers and printers. So it'd be far better to do this during a non-peak time of day, and that requires a little bit of prior planning. What are the non-peak times of day? Do you need to schedule an extra person so that you have time to spend with your new hire? These are all things that we need to consider before rather than after the new hire is there sitting in our office. I'm a big fan of dealing with the actual thing. So let's take a look at the website together, and I'm going to describe what's expected of you. I'm going to go ahead and log in. And here you're going to see a link to New Hire. We click on that, and you see another link that says New Hire Checklist. We're going to click on that one. And the first thing we're going to do is actually print out the New Hire Checklist. Now, why do we do that? The reason we do that is because it gives us a consistent way to know that we're not forgetting anything. And we include everything every time and without fail. Not only that, but this is a procedure that's mandated to ensure that all shops operate at the same level of efficiency. So print the checklist and use it to make sure everything gets submitted. It should accompany your paperwork so that you demonstrate that you've taken every directed step to ensure complete and accurate paperwork. This is not an inconvenience. It's an essential part of what you do. And once you have that checklist and you're ready to check things off on it, then we're going to go to the cover sheet. And here is the cover sheet. This is a really simple form to fill out. First, we're going to put the date, and then we're going to designate if we want to be notified by phone, email, or fax of the eligibility of our employee to continue on in the onboarding process. So that means that, let's say you prefer to be notified by email. You're going to put a check mark to the left of email, and then you're going to put your complete email address in the line to the right. Then numbers of pages faxed. Why do we do that? Why do we want to know the number of pages faxed? Well, because you all know, if you've ever worked in an office environment, there's more than one fax coming in, and sometimes people grab what's in the printer and they grab one too many pages. They'll put that page back, but now it's not in the same order that it was. So when we have the number of pages, we know the amount of pages to look for. So it's a way to be efficient. That's why we need to have that number. Then we have the sent by. That's where you print your name, and then we want you to put down the center name and the designated number so that we know exactly where this information is coming from, and we know exactly who to contact if we have any questions. Once again, we want to efficiently get your people onboarded. We want to do our piece of this as quickly and as efficiently as possible, and this is a simple way that you can assist in that process. All right, let's move on to the next form. Number 2, it doesn't have a download. Why? Because this is provided by the employee. Now it says here driver's license and social security card, but the reason why we're getting these things is to document an employee's eligibility to work in the United States, and that's information that you're going to put on the I-9 form. I'll go ahead and bring that up while we're waiting. The I-9 form instructions indicate that you cannot specify a particular form of ID that the employee will provide. So you have to go to the list. The list is on the 3rd page, and it says that if an item is provided from list A, that's all they need to provide. So if they give you a U.S. passport that's current, then that is a sufficient piece of identification that makes them eligible to work in the United States. You would only have to fill out column A. But most often, and most commonly, a person will provide the driver's license and social security card. If a person provides something from list A, that's all they have to provide. But if they're going to provide something from list B, they also have to provide something from list C. And you can see all of the documents that the federal government says are or can be provided by the person in order to verify themselves as legally eligible to work in the United States. Make sure that the employee fills out Section 1 and that you fill out Section 2. Make sure it's done thoroughly. There are some areas that commonly get missed. This part right here where the employee's signature goes and also the date. Another commonly missed area is some forms of information in List C and List B or List A can be left out. Make sure that this is filled out thoroughly. If you want to get a thorough amount of training on the I-9 form, it is available on the lionshrtraining.com website. That's lionshrtraining.com. And you'll be prompted if you go to any other page than that home page where you land when you go there initially. And I believe it's on page 2 or 3. The username is Lions Client. That's all lowercase, LYONSCLIENT. Lions Client is the username, and the password is, again, all lowercase, X3P2YJ5. If you have any questions about the I-9, that should answer your questions. And if you have any further questions, you could always call Kenya here at Lions HR. And her phone number is at the bottom of the list on the website that we're looking at right now. Then we have the letter of intent. Let's take a look at it. The letter of intent. Very simple form once again. And you just fill out the date, the applicant name, and the anticipated start date and time. And then the name and date is filled in at the bottom. Real simple form. Let's move on down here to the application. The application is real important. And why is that? Well, we get a lot of crucial information on the application. I'm going to just draw your attention to one part. It's all important, but I want to make sure that you include this employment history, because this is the stuff that you're going to check to verify a person's references, to make sure that the person that they present themselves to be professionally is the person that they actually are. So checking these references is really important. Make sure that it's all filled out. Make sure that it has the date and signature at the end. And don't feel like you need to hesitate or refrain from handing it back to the employee and saying, hey, I noticed that you don't have your address on here. Would you mind filling in your current address? Or, just review the application and make sure that it is complete. Then we will include the resume if they have provided one for you. The employee information sheet. Employee information sheet. Let's take a look at it. Note, it's real simple. If you had any questions about what the employee needed to fill out, it's all highlighted for you. So anywhere there's a highlighted section, they need to fill that out. And then the supervisor fills out the remainder of the form. Real simple. The W-4 and A-4 forms are, the W-4 form is for federal tax withholding. We do not advise people on what to put on that form, but we need to make sure that they fill that out and that that's turned in, because that has to do with their pay. We want to make sure that they have an appropriate amount withheld so that they get the amount back at the end of the year, or they pay sufficient taxes so that they don't have an unnecessary burden at the end of the year. The A4 is simply, in the case of Alabama, the A4 is for state withholding. And once again, we don't counsel a person on what to put in there. We just make sure that the form is filled out completely and accurately, legibly, and then we send it in. The direct deposit authorization agreement is really important. This has to do with your employee's pay, and it's an important part of the onboarding process. Real simple to fill out, but we need to make sure that all the information is present. If they're going to do direct deposit into an existing account, then fill out the top portions. Everything is highlighted for you, and then put the bank name, their account number, and the routing number. All of that is essential information. Some of your people may not have an account and they say, I want a global cash card. In that case, we would check this box and we would put in the global cash card number from the global cash card in the envelope that you give the employee. Inside that envelope are instructions on how they can sign up for a PIN associated with their global cash card. Now, how does this stuff work? You give them the card and you need to advise them that the day before they anticipate their first payday, that's when they need to sign on to the website and get their PIN. Why do we advise them to wait? Because a couple things need to happen. We need to receive their paperwork, number one, and then we need to contact the Global Cash Card folks to input their information so that they establish an account with the Global Cash Card. Then Lions will establish a direct deposit into that account. And all this takes a little bit of time. So for the employee, so that they have a seamless experience in getting their pay, we just need them to wait until the day before they expect to be paid for the first time, then simply log on, follow the instructions given to them in the information that they got with their initial Global Cash Card. Now, after some time, then Global Cash Card will send them a permanent card, but advise them not to throw away the old card because it can be used as a backup in case they lose their original. If they do lose the original, a simple call to Global Cash Card will help them in getting that replaced, and they won't lose any of their money. Make sure also at the bottom of this form that we get the signature of the person authorizing this, the date, and print the name of the person authorizing. Christmas Club. What is Christmas Club? The Christmas Club is a non-interest bearing account, and it's just a savings account so that each week you can put aside a little bit of money so that when Christmas comes around, you got money for presents, for family and friends, and you don't have to worry about that financial burden at the end of the year. The minimum amount that you can give to participate in Christmas Club is $5 per pay period. All right, and it says it right on the form. Once again, everything's highlighted so you know exactly what needs to be filled out. Make sure the form is filled out thoroughly, that the employee understands this is not an interest-bearing account, and let them know. And you can sell this as a benefit. I mean, this is a cool thing where they don't have to think about it, and then Christmas time comes around, and it's just around the corner at the time of this recording, and they've got plenty in their account to get things for children, for loved ones, and so forth. That's a quality of life issue, and that's a nice thing. The drug screening results. Now, you perform the drug screen right there on site, and then you record the results from the container used for the specimen. Make sure that we don't miss any of the information at the top here or these squares here for the reason for the drug screen. Right down here, make sure that the donor initials there because that covers what they do in the case that a person may have a positive result. And then this bottom part is filled out as well, the donor signature, and then the collector's printed name and initials and the date and time. Then the final thing is the Lions Handbook and the Handbook Acknowledgement Form. I want to give just a piece of advice here. Instead of just printing out and handing them the handbook and say, here, sign for this, I suggest that you print one out and highlight it for yourself. Hit the high points, the things that you want them to be aware of, because when you go over these things right at the beginning of the employment relationship, then the person goes into work with expectations, with knowledge of what's expected of them, and that always makes things a whole lot easier. So please just take the time to fill out one book. You might want to put it in a little binder, I don't know, put it in some sheet protector so it doesn't get messed up or oily or whatever, and then you have it, and you don't have to worry about doing that again. You can go over it with each employee. I suggest doing that with the Lions Handbook and also with your own proprietary handbook so that the employee knows what's expected of them. This message right here is important. After receiving approval to hire, proceed to. So we are going to look at the form that you provided with us, and we're going to determine, okay, they want to be notified by phone, by email, by fax, and we're going to let them know that this person is eligible for hire. Now you can move on to the next step. Phase 2, onboarding and training. You're going to give the person the PTAC Employee Policies and Procedures Handbook, and also you're going to conduct this very important new hire safety orientation. I don't think this could be much easier for you, because all you have to do is go to this site and go over this with them, and then simply go to these videos and have them watch them. That's just not hard. That's not hard. But oftentimes it doesn't get done. Now, I just want to give you a scenario so that you understand why these are important. All right? Imagine for a moment that you say, these videos, that's wasted time. I just want to get them out on the floor. So you say, heck with the videos. I'll just sign off on the, I'll have them sign off on the acknowledgement form. Even though they didn't watch the videos, I'll throw them out on the floor. And let's say, God forbid, something serious happens to the employee, and they go and get Blythe Shneebwood to represent them. And you're in court, and the prosecuting attorney says, Mr. So-and-so, Mrs. So-and-so, is it true that you had this employee falsify this information and they did not, in fact, see these safety videos? Is that correct? And you say, yes, it is correct. And you say, is it true that this employee was injured as a direct result of your negligence in not showing them this video? And you'd have to say, what? Yes. Just because we didn't have an employee watch a video and be orientated to the dangers in that situation. I mean, that's one thing, being in court, but there's an ethical part to this too. We don't want people to get hurt. Just as human beings, we don't want people to get hurt. So please, I want you to make a commitment today that every employee is going to be treated the same way. Every employee is going to go through a thorough and complete new hire process for their good, for your good, and for the good of the company. And then the final part of this is the consolidated employee acknowledgement form and the all-important physical qualification assessment. Let's take a look at that physical qualification assessment. Why do we do this? Well, we want to know the truth. We want to know the truth. It's an unfortunate fact of business life that some people come into the workplace with pre-existing conditions and then will fake an injury or may have a bona fide injury in the workplace that exacerbates an existing injury, and now you're on the hook paying for all their medical bills. If that's not documented ahead of time, then you're just going to lose profits. You're going to lose revenue. So this establishes a baseline for that employee and lets us know exactly who's coming into the workplace, and it lets us know so that if there is a workers' comp claim, that it is applied appropriately. Note at the top of this that it says misrepresentation as to pre-existing physical or mental conditions may void your workers' compensation benefits. So we want to make sure that we know going in that this person will be able to handle the physical requirements of the job, and that any workers' comp benefits will be applied appropriately. Once this stuff is done, then the next part is simple. Go to the fax machine, get it ready to go, and send it to that number, 866-615-2215. If you have any questions along the way, you can call Kenya at 256-546-9493, and she's at extension 224. The whole purpose of this training today is just to reiterate that we don't want to have any interaction with Blythe Shneebwood. We don't want to give a conniving lawyer, and they're not all conniving, but there are some out there that are making a good living on managers that don't take this stuff seriously. So please take it seriously. I know that you are professionals. I know that you will accept this this training, and many of you are already doing this. Thank you for doing that. But if you see one or two parts of this that you need to improve upon, I just want to encourage you to make it a point that each and every new hire experience will be efficient, it'll be scheduled, it'll be covered, and that every employee will have the benefit of going through a thorough and professional onboarding process. Thank you for joining me today, and have a great rest of your day.